Welcome to Fresh Meat. This is the IGN show where we talk about horror. All things horror. Games, films, TV, whatever. My name's Cam Shea, this is Lucy O'Brien.
Hello.
And this week we're going to be chatting about Silent Hills and specifically what's happening with it. Is it dead? I mean, last year we had the PT demo, which was a kind of sneak peek of this collaboration between Kojima and Del Toro. Incredibly exciting and whet our appetites for what that could mean for this series that's had a kind of odd kind of like history, right?
It's had a really difficult, basically after Silent Hill 4, The Room, which was kind of like the last one that had that real Team Silent feel to it.
Yep.
It's had a very sort of odd lifeline. And certainly it's been in limbo for some time, and then PT comes along and this announcement that Del Toro and Kojima would be taking over Silent Hill as a series, and sort of suddenly everyone
it's like a Voltron-esque crazy awesome team up, right?
No one could believe it was real when the announcement came that they would be working on it together. It just seemed too good to be true. Turns out that it might be too good to be true.
No.
Obviously, the spanner in the works has been this rumor that is...
The will they, won't they, you know? Is it Splitsville for Kojima and Konami?
Who can say? But I mean, we can speculate. At this point, it looks very likely that Konami and Kojima are going to be splitting. Which means, what does that mean for Silent Hills? At this point, let's assume that yes, Kojima is leaving. I think all the signs point to that being so. He certainly hasn't denied the question. He's just said, I'm going to continue with Phantom Pain through to 100% completion. It's going to be, you know, my baby, blah, blah, blah. Which is all great news for Metal Gear fans, at least for now. But for Silent Hill fans, it's
the future of Metal Gear is another topic altogether.
That's true. Let's not go down that road. But so, yeah, I mean, what could possibly happen at this point? I mean, there are sort of questions as to whether Kojima could come on board as a contractor. Although I don't know about that. I mean, we don't know the intricacies of this split. It may be, you know, there might be some sort of disruption there. It might not be an easy split at all. We have no idea.
Or then again, you know, who knows? Kojima might just have a different relationship with Konami from a more independent studio and retain the ability to have control over the projects he wants, but kind of seems unlikely.
It does seem unlikely, and it is also very rare once a high-profile developer leaves the sort of the publisher coven. That they stick around. So I'm not too hopeful that Kojima will stay on board if he is in fact leaving. You know, if Kojima Productions is getting disbanded.
And what's Del Toro's relationship been on this project to date? Obviously Del Toro brings like an amazing sensibility to this style of game. But he's not a game developer. He's dabbled. Like we had Insane project
back in which was when
kind
was
of
that 2012.
Earlier.
And
that was kind of, you know, talked about for quite a while, and nothing ever came of it.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, the THQ
to Helicube closed.
When that happened, that was the end of the end of Insane. But yeah, Del Toro, I mean, certainly in the way that he was involved with PT, he was more of a creative advisor, and I think that is how his role would have fit in with Silent Hills. He would have been maybe a producer / creative advisor, where he just brings his sort of aesthetic sensibilities, his storytelling, and Kojima was the one that would make everything happen. So for people who are saying, well, at least Guillermo del Toro is still involved, yes, that is definitely a positive. But at the same time, he certainly can't do it alone, and I have no faith. I mean, I just don't have any faith that he will take this project and lead it, because he's not a game designer.
Yeah, I see it a different way. I think Del Toro is the kiss of death for video games. We should like grab our pitchforks and our burning torches, and we should just drive him out.
Well, it's just such a lovely sentiment, Cam.
Imagine if Del Toro was brought onto Nintendo's NX project. You know, we'd never see another Nintendo console.
It would be doomed. But yeah, I mean, it is I think, and certainly in terms of Del Toro's involvement in video games to date, he has been at the wrong place at the wrong time.
I think we'd all love to see him creatively involved in this industry, and so it's a real shame that this might not kind of pan out.
Yeah, and we have seen from PT that his, as I said, like his aesthetic and his sort of his grasp of that atmosphere and storytelling really can come across. It can translate into a video game medium.
It's crazy, like what a phenomenon PT was that might be it, you know?
Yeah.
It just got everybody so excited. I mean, we're very much in a kind of renaissance of horror right now, so it felt like the right time for Silent Hill to come back and be reinvented and see something new with it.
Yeah, that's right. So let's move on a little bit to why this kind of sucks. First of all, I mean, without Kojima, again, just quickly going back to Del Toro, it is my understanding that Del Toro was brought on board later. So the deal was signed between Konami and Kojima. So Kojima was the one who was going to, steer this ship. Del Toro was brought on board as a secondary director or a secondary creative advisor. So yeah, I'm not quite sure where that leaves sort of Del Toro in the grand scheme of things anyway. This sucks, as you say, because I mean Silent Hill needed to be reinvented, and it's had an identity crisis for many years. It's sort of gone from developer to developer. It went from the east to the west, and basically there's just this sort of it's suffered from being so sort of obstinately in step with its past.
Sure. Yep.
And I think that's been its problem, is that everyone's just been too afraid to reinvent it.
Yep.
So basically, this is why Silent Hills was such a positive and exciting change of direction, because
you need an author like Kojima to
That's
go,
right.
no, this is what it is now.
That's right.
And I have the vision for it, and I have the authority to carry through that vision.
Exactly, and it wasn't just one author we're talking about, it was two of them, which is amazing. And yeah, to sort of think, oh god, we might lose that. I mean, where does that leave Silent Hill as a series? I just don't know. I think what would have been so wonderful about that partnership is that both of them have such a wonderful handling of the bizarre, which I feel is what made Silent Hill so fantastic in the first place.
About psychological kind of horror as opposed to...
Well, I mean, the last few Silent Hill games, bar Shattered Memories, which I actually thought was really good. The last few Silent Hill games were just sort of repeats. They sort of felt like shadows of the series' former glory.
So let's just say, okay, we need to reinvent the Silent Hill franchise without Kojima, without Del Toro.
Yep.
What are the options?
So the options,
let's face it, Konami is going to bring Silent Hill back in one way or another before too long.
I mean, the tricky thing is, as we all know, there hasn't been a huge amount of information on Silent Hills basically for ages. All we knew is that it was in development. These two guys were on board, as was old Norm back there. That's all the information we have. So we have no idea how far into development it is, or even if development had started properly. It's just, we've got nothing to go on.
They took the franchise, they added an S to it. That's all we know.
That's all we know.
That's it.
So it's kind of hard to know exactly if a new director would come on board, or if a new development studio came on board.
Starting from scratch.
It's hard to know exactly what they would be sort of building on. The one positive thing is that Konami really needs Silent Hill as a series. It really does. I mean, right now, speculating that Kojima is leaving, what does that leave Konami with? So it leaves them with a Kojima-less Metal Gear.
Yep.
It leaves them with Pro Evo, which will always be in the shadow of FIFA.
And it's been getting less and less scary every year, you know?
It really has been. I've noticed that too.
Yeah. Like Dance Dance Revolution.
And Dance Dance Revolution. Yep. And that's kind of it, really. I mean, Castlevania, I suppose, as well. But again, that's a series that hasn't...
That needs a Kojima touch.
It does. That needs a reinvention as well. So it's kind of got these series, these franchises that are in desperate need of new life. It needs Silent Hill. So I think whatever happens, I do have faith that a new Silent Hill game will get made. Whether it is the vision that was promised in PT and in all the early talk of Silent Hills, I don't know.
Sure.
I do believe that Konami will probably keep the Fox engine under the Konami banner because Kojima Productions was a subsidiary of Konami, which means that anything that Kojima Productions built actually is owned by Konami. Sure. Which is kind of a double-edged sword. Obviously, a lot of people want Kojima to have his engine that they.
But how else does that engine get funded and built?
So, exactly. Yeah. So I do believe that if the game continued to get made and it was already under some sort of development, it is likely, and hopefully it's likely, that it can continue getting made on the Fox engine.
Sure.
Which would bring so much to that game.
Yep.
There are a couple of possibilities. Masahiro Ito, who was working on, he basically is a well-known face of Silent Hill. He was a background and creature designer on the original game. Yep. He was the art director for Silent Hill 2, which was the best game in the series, in my opinion.
But the third title is the best by such a long way.
Oh yeah.
Silent Hill 3, art director as well as
drama camera designer. That's very good. And he also worked on Restless Dreams. So he stated back in 2012 that if Kojima was going to make a Silent Hill game, because there was a lot of speculation that Kojima would be making a Silent Hill game even before he came out and announced Silent Hills, that he would love to be on board. So he is one guy that could possibly take the reins.
So do we know what's Ito been doing for the last 10 years?
That is
because this is the thing, it feels to me like he's the art guy, he's the guy who brings the sensibility that Del Toro would have brought. But maybe he's been doing game design for the last 10 years.
Maybe he has been. To be honest, I actually don't know. That is a good question. But, he is certainly someone that could be brought on board that would bring that might bridge the gap, so to speak.
Yep.
It could also mean, this is a long shot, but we could see it being given to Climax Studios, the British-based developer who made 2009's excellent Shattered Memories. Yep. That is a possibility, but again, I don't know what the likelihood of that would be. This is kind of like pipe dreams at this point. Like I don't know if that would even be possible. And considering we have no idea how far into development.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of the authorities, the up and comers in this kind of horror space are indies, so they're not really necessarily been around for that long or have the studio size to handle something as big as this.
Yeah, that's right. It's a difficult one because we just don't know. But I think the one sort of positive thing that we can come out of this conversation with is the fact that Konami needs Silent Hill. And I can't imagine that Silent Hills will be let go without a fight.
He's just hoping it doesn't suck. Sorry, did you want to end on a positive note? I'm so sorry. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Let's get the discussion rolling.
Yep.
Let's brainstorm some developers who can take the reins and do it justice.
That's right. And guys, as always, leave your comments and discussion topics for the next episode of Fresh Meat.
Yep.
It's been a pleasure talking about this today with you, Cam.
Yeah, lovely to talk to you too, Lucy. And we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Take care.